guys, Niawenhkowa. Today we're visiting the Mohawk Legion Branch 219, where we'll have a tour from Ray Deere, Sergeant First Class U.S. Army retired, who is now the Legion President, and Peter Jacobs, U.S. Army Airborne Specialist, now Legion Facilities Manager. I hope you enjoy your tour.
This is our, you want to say our Hall of Fame for our veterans. And actually, this is only a small portion of our veterans. The pictures that you see here are the pictures that we received from mostly veterans that became part of the Legion, but there's many more, and we could probably double what we have with the amount of veterans we have here in Kahnawake.
We started this mobile exhibit to try to educate the kids in school, because a lot of the kids there that I talked to have no idea if they had members of their family in the military.
This is all from community members that called us and said, I have this and I have that. And I'm glad we started to do this and to catalog and categorize things, because we had some members when we set up the mobile museum that came in and said, I found this at the dump. Somebody threw it away. And they were very high-ranking medals, a Legion of Merit, a Purple Heart.
And that would be these right here, the Purple Heart, the Silver Star, and the Legion of Merit.
And that was at the dump. And somebody seen it and brought it to us, knowing that we're a military organization. And we looked at it and we go, oh my God, how many other things might have been thrown away because the families didn't know what to do? So we've asked, we put it out there, through the media, with our local paper saying, hey, you have anything, we'll use it, we'll categorize it, and we'll let the kids see this is all things that our community members had, souvenirs, things they experienced. So each little piece you see tells a story of our Kahnawake veterans. This portion of the wall represents the War of 1812. At the time, our involvement was, we were called the Kahnawake Warriors. We were not called Kahnawake Mohawks. We weren't called the Mohawks. We were called the Kahnawakes. That's what it says in all of the literature from the commanders at that time. We fought in the Battle of Chateauguay, which actually they say is the turning point. Finally, after years, they decided to recognize our contribution. And a lot of us didn't know that we were heavily involved. And the Queen had that flag presented to us. An Niawenhkowa War Club represents that time. The musket.
That was donated to us.
And also you have the wampum belt, and you've seen the coin, the representation of that War of 1812. So a lot of this, the history of the Kahnawake warriors or veterans, dates even before the War of 1812. It seems like we've been involved in just about every battle that, the people that came from Europe, involved us in, allies.
This is where we have our different types of sea rations. In my time, the top one is the one there that we had used, where it was cans.
This was during the Gulf War. These are the original meals ready to eat, MREs. And the one down here is the current rations that they hand out when they go into battle or into the field. Back in our time, this was a big commodity. This is Spam.
Spam?
We use this as a trophy when we played softball against each other. The Marines, the Navy, the Army, within this Legion. So it's become a real trophy piece. And we're surprised it hasn't been taken out and eaten at this time.
Here's only a portion of the people from Kahnawake that served that we have on the wall. And we have these, the people who passed away, we put a small sticker. And so as you can see, there's quite a few that passed on now, but we still have a lot of people that's still with us. And we have, at the time, 28 women from Kahnawake that served, and then it's all different branches of the service. You got the Navy, the Marines, Army, you have the Air Force, So we...
And Canadian Forces?
Yeah, and the Canadian Forces. This is a Canadian Legion, but the majority of people from Kahnawake joined the U.S. Forces. Just because of our relationship with ironwork and this and that. But we still did have some that joined in the Canadian service. So somebody came up with the idea on making these slats so we can put up the pictures, and we just keep adding on as we get more and more. And there's still some pictures out there that we're trying to get so we can add them to the wall. These are the founders of the Legion when we first started. So we got the plaque and all of their pictures, and unfortunately they're all gone now. They're not with us. We have some people where you had 3, 4 brothers from the same family that was in the military. Kept all their pictures there together. You got some, like in my case, my mother, my father, my brother, myself, my son, all of my uncles, my aunt were all in service. So all their pictures are on the wall. And that was the big thing at the time. Not as many people are joining in this day and age now, but we still have some that are serving overseas at the moment. But I would say in World War II to the Vietnam era, a lot of people from town went there and joined. It was just more or less something to do, you know, and it was to follow the tradition that your family has, and that's how we did it.
And again, as he was saying, it was because of our iron workers. They all went to the States and they were working there, and when World War II came around, a lot of them had social security numbers, and originally they got drafted. Some of them fought against it and said, you can't draft us because we're First Nations. Well, back then I'm Indian, so they couldn't draft them, but a majority of our guys decided to go join. And to a point where by the end of World War II, there were 178 community members that served during that time. 8 were women, 170, and there's probably more than that, but that's what we counted as a record we have. The next thing you know, when Vietnam came, we had 103 that joined during that time. But there were people that they were conscripted, or some of them, they would take somebody's place. You know, if you paid somebody $300, they'd go in your place. Like for non-natives that were drafted, because there was a draft in New York, and of course all our people were always in New York. So a lot of them said, hey, $300, I get meals, free clothes. So they went serve. You don't get a choice to whether you go in combat or not. You know, it's wherever you're being sent.
Yeah.
You know,
wherever they need you, that's where you got to go. Just because you weren't in combat, you were still supporting the people with combat, their equipment that they need, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because some people have a mentality that it's only the ones that were actually in combat that, you know, somewhat should be recognized, but everybody should. Every veteran, you know, as long as you served honorably, that to me is the basic requirement. Of course, we put our combat veterans on a different plateau, you know, and we have to be more vigilant of them, because they see things that the average individual will never ever see.
A lot of luggage you're carrying when you come back home.
You know, back in the day, they used to call it shell shock.
Yeah.
You know, and now we know what it is. It's PTSD, and you can tell an individual that left home and had seen combat, they're not the same person. I've never seen one of them come back that had the same, you know, mentality, the same type of humor. It totally changed a lot of them. And as a matter of fact, our founding member, Cyclone Taylor, he struggled, you know, in his later years. After everything he did to start this Legion, you know, because it was his idea, his brainstorm that he put forward, and then he convinced the others, because we had nothing here for our veterans. We had to go out to Lachine or other areas in order to get with other veterans to be able to talk to someone that understood what we went through. We didn't have that here in Kahnawake. I would like to thank anyone that gets an opportunity to look at this video to see a little bit of history of Kahnawake and the proud history of our veterans.